What if healing didn't mean forcing your body, but inviting it to remember its own brilliance? That's the power of Network Spinal, and today I'll show you why this gentle approach has been life-changing for so many. Welcome to Healing Beyond the Symptoms, the podcast that helps people discover the root causes of their health struggles and take back control with science, strategy, and self-awareness. I'm Dr. Leah Hahn, a chiropractor and functional wellness doctor who believes that true healing starts beneath the surface. So let's dive in. When most people think of chiropractic, they picture cracking, twisting, forceful adjustments, and maybe you've even tried that, and sometimes it helps, but other times it leaves you tense or wary. For highly stressed people, highly sensitive people, it can actually increase their stress physiology. So, are there more gentle approaches? For people who are highly sensitive, living with chronic stress, or carrying years of unresolved tension or trauma, that kind of intensity can feel overwhelming to their nervous system. You might have even wondered, is there another way? Well, there is, and it's called Network Spinal. And far from being less effective, its gentleness is exactly what makes it so transformative. In fact, its gentleness is actually its superpower. Network Spinal is a chiropractic approach that uses precise, gentle touches along the spine to help the nervous system release stored tension and reorganize itself. And that's really the key is that we're not just moving into regulating the nervous system, which is an incredible thing to do and really helps the healing process, but we're actually reorganizing how the nervous system is functioning. And keep in mind, there's no cracking, there's no twisting. Instead, it's very light contacts that are being used to create big changes within how the nervous system is able to function and regulate itself. So think of it like rebooting your computer. Instead of forcing the system, Network Spinal sends small signals that help the entire network reset and run more efficiently. And it's really not just about fixing you, but instead reminding your body how to reconnect to its natural healing rhythms. Most care focuses on pain relief. Network Spinal works so much deeper to help your body learn new and healthier patterns. It does this first by helping your brain start to discover and connect to tension. One of the things that happens when we are living under chronic stress physiology is our entire nervous system loses its ability to connect the mind and the body. When we lose that mind-body connection, we lose awareness. And when we lose awareness, we're not able to pay attention to the subtle signals that our body is telling us. What happens is our body screams louder and louder until we pay attention. So the first step in the healing process with Network Spinal that involves such gentle and specific contacts is helping to reconnect the mind with the body. That's the first step. The next step that we go into is decreasing the amount of tension that's within the nervous system. It's really difficult to create transformation and change when there's a high degree of tension within the body. We can't really force it to do what we want it to do. Instead, we need to decrease that tension level so we can move into a state of healing. And that way, the body is actually receptive to what we're going to be telling it. Then we can go into a state of reorganization. When you think of how you've lived your life, there's different traumas or different experiences that you maybe had as a child that overwhelmed your nervous system. Your nervous system went into a place where it had to protect itself from that level of overwhelm. And it relied on a pattern to do that. That pattern engaged specific areas of the spine and the nervous system in order to cope. And when your brain saw that as something effective or something that worked, it then used that strategy over and over again until it patterned your nervous system. One of the first things that I talked about was actually connecting so that you could be aware of what that tension pattern is doing to your body. So it may show up as feeling physical tension. It could show up as specific thought patterns and specific ways of coping with your world. So again, we want to reconnect to that, and we want to help to decrease the amount of tension within in the system. And then again, we can start to reorganize it. What reorganizing may look like is helping your body find different strategies for dealing with the stress within your world. If you use the same strategies over and over again, that can look like dysfunction. We want to go into true healing, which gives you more adaptability and resiliency. When we think of the nervous system, that means really moving into more of a parasympathetic state, but having access to stress physiology when it's needed, and then being able to adapt right back to parasympathetic. So, network spinal in its gentleness is really helping your body to decrease sympathetic fight or flight tension, as well as using breathing and other subtle cues to help activate the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. What this does is, again, reorganize how the system is working. We're able to access new patterning so that we can really move into a state of healing. And all of it is done through gentleness. The changes that that creates when the body moves into a state of neurologic safety are profound. Network spinal is able to really honor the truth of how the body is able to heal. This process works on many different levels. So many of the clients that come in to see us have physical pain, they have emotional symptoms, they may have dealt with long term anxiety, they may have dealt with overwhelm and chronic stress. But when we really get the body into a state of neurologic safety, that mind body sense of safety, they're able to release emotion, they're able to release physical pain, maybe chronic pain, but their body can move into that state of healing. I want to move them not just into a state of healing, but into a state of transformation. This looks like having awareness of their life patterns, awareness of their behavior, awareness of how they react to different situations, so they can really get into a state of change. One of the most adaptive strategies that you can have within your life is realizing when there is a need to change. So it's not just going on about life and doing the same things and reacting the same ways. It's looking at, how do I go into a state where I can actually be aware, I can actually move into a state where I can choose healthier patterns and reorganize my life. One of the things that people used to think is that in order to get healthy, they needed to exercise, or they needed to drink more water, or they needed to eat better. What has been found is that healthy people make healthier decisions. So when you can focus on actually healing and reorganizing the nervous system and creating a lifestyle that helps to regulate your nervous system, you will actually then be able to implement the exercise plan, the nutrition plan, how you can drink more water throughout the day, or meditate. So I want you to change your point of view on that. Focus on healing first, restoring the nervous system, reorganizing the nervous system, and then making the lifestyle changes that you desire. I've worked with so many clients over the years that have a dysregulated nervous system. I want to tell you about one client in particular. She came into our office because she noticed that she had such a chronic sense of fatigue and stress within her body that she felt disconnected at work. She felt disconnected from her family. She felt like she was going through the motions of everyday life, but there was no enjoyment in it. And as we started to really go through the process of helping her body heal with Network Spinal, one of the most rewarding things that I got to hear was that she was reclaiming her sense of well being. She said, I could be washing the dishes in the morning or getting ready for work and actually feel a sense of peace. At the end of the day, I felt satisfied with what I had done instead of just feeling stressed and anxious. So please know that there is hope. You can reclaim your sense of well being, but it has so much to do with being able to help the nervous system heal. Stress and trauma live within the nervous system. And why is that? Your nervous system is taking in every single experience that you have throughout the day. So, this can look like stressful things, it can look like joyful things, disappointing things, all of the things that happen to us as part of life. And if we're not clearing that trauma, or just even the experiences that we can have that are overwhelming or that create stress within our lives, it builds up within the nervous system. This can show up in the posture, in the tension and the tone, but especially in the spine. The spine is what absorbs all of those emotional types of experiences throughout our day. And so, again, if we can go into a place where we can really look at someone's posture, their muscle tone, how they're breathing, we can actually get a sense of how stress has affected their life and what kind of stress is stored within the nervous system. One of the things I look at when clients first start working with us is I observe how they breathe. I look at the tone of how their muscles are storing tension. I look at where the spine is moving and not moving, but it starts to give me a sense of how their body has stored tension throughout their lives. Network then goes through a process of creating healing waves in which we start to break up that amount of tension within the body. There's gentle spinal movements that start to happen, and the breath patterns start to shift and change. And this is a sign that the body is ready to let go of tension. One of the first things that we start to develop with network spinal is something called a respiratory wave. Their full spine starts to move when they breathe. Often, when I start to see people for the first few times, there's no breath moving through the spine. It could look like a dead person laying on a table because their system is so locked up in stress physiology. One of the signs that the nervous system is moving out of stress physiology and into a place of healing is that their full spine moves when they take a breath, all the way from their tailbone to the very top of their spine. Really good sign that the system is ready to let go and move into a state of healing where the parasympathetic side of the nervous system is way more active and they're moving into that state of rest and digest. Network has been studied for years and how it impacts someone's quality of life. They've looked at everything from how physical symptoms decrease, like pain and tension and headaches and immune system dysregulation. They've looked at how it affects someone's quality of life in terms of their life enjoyment. Are they spiritually more fulfilled? Do they have a greater connection to joy and to positive emotion? It's been looked at how adaptable someone is to their stress. Can they recover quickly? Can they move into healing mode? All of that shifts with network spinal. And so, one of the things I always want you to remember is that you can develop more resiliency. No one can necessarily change the stressful events that are happening within their life. I mean, they do have some access to make different choices, but stressful things are going to happen to us. So it's much more about how we can recover, how adaptable and how resilient we are. One of the most common things that I hear from our clients is how much more quickly they heal. Maybe something happened to them while they were playing with their kids or they were picking up their grandchild, but they are amazed at how quickly they heal and recover. So, again, network spinal is all about gaining that sense of adaptability and increasing that healing capacity. It's not just about getting rid of pain, it's about awakening more capacity for life. Again, we want to reorganize the system and teach the body new ways of being, create more awareness for healing, create increased energy in the system for change and transformation. I want to walk you through what a session would feel like when you're under network spinal care. You are fully clothed and you're lying on a comfortable table. We might use pillows or bolsters to help your spine feel more comfortable. But one of the important things to remember is that I have all of your exam data and we've met with you and we've talked about your history and what your goals are. When we start to work on the spine, we always are examining by just gently feeling the spine and the tissues right around the spine. We want to feel what that current stress level is for that day. Because we understand maybe what the chronic patterns are like, but there might be different things that have happened to you throughout your day that have created stressors that are maybe unusual for you throughout the nervous system. Once we get a sense of that, we make very specific contacts along the spine. Everything is very gentle. And again, there's no cracking, there's no twisting, there's no popping through that process. The body may start to respond with changing its breathing pattern. You might feel the need to take a deeper breath. You might feel the need to sigh. Some clients will even have a sense of emotion. They might release tears. They might laugh. They might just feel a deep sense of peace starting to take over their body. Over time, what happens with consistency is that people notice not just less tension within their spine, but more energy, a deeper level of presence, more resilience, and a nervous system that can start to respond to life in new ways, not just the old way of being, a more adaptable, more resilient way of being. Remember, it's safe, it's gentle, and it's tailored to each person. That is such an important thing. How many experiences in life do you have that are actually tailored to you? What the chronic stressors are, what traumas have happened throughout your life? We really want to look at you as an individual because that affects your nervous system incredibly, and we want to get to the root of those stressors. Healing doesn't always require intensity. Gentleness can be so incredibly powerful. I want you to start to notice your patterns. Where does your body hold tension? Is it in the jaw, the shoulders, the stomach, the low back? Remember, that is your nervous system speaking. I want you to ask yourself, instead of what's wrong with me, try what pattern am I stuck in and what would actually help me shift. Thanks again for joining me today on Healing Beyond the Symptoms. If you've been curious about Network Spinal, or if you've tried everything else and still feel stuck, I want you to know this. Your body is not broken. It's patterned, and those patterns can change. If you're ready to experience how gentle care can lead to profound transformation, I'd love to invite you to book a wellness consultation at bodyandbalancechiropractic.com. Together, we'll look at what your body needs to finally release, reset, and thrive. Until next time, breathe deep, trust your body, and remember, gentle can be powerful.